Hi, I'm Jeremy, and today we're going to take a look at a roll and move game, an adventure game by the designer Reiner Knizia by the name of Dragonland. And I believe there's an English printing of this that's called Dragonland. I just have the German edition. The components are language independent. This is a game for ages 9 and up, so older kids, and it's plays from 2 to 4 players. The box says in about 45 minutes, but realistically it's going to take more like half an hour to play. And it's an adventure game where players are going to be controlling a group of pawns, which are going to be in a given shape as they move across a field populated with volcanoes trying to collect treasures. Those treasures are going to give them points, and whoever collects the most points at the game's end is going to be the winner. It's an interesting game that makes a lot of use out of its roll and move mechanic. Let me take a minute to show you how it works, and I'll come back and let you know what I think about it. So here I've set up a 3-player game of Dragonland, and each player is going to get a set of pawns, and you'll notice that the pawns are distinguished not by color but by shape. So this player here would be the cones, whereas this player here would be these little men. And at the start of the game, each player, the first player is going to choose one of these portal spaces to place a pawn 1 space into. So they went here. The second player will get to go 2 spaces, and the third player will get to go 3 spaces into one of the paths. And you're going to populate these various volcanoes, which represent the dragon's lairs, with gems, with these eggs, which are these little cardboard eggs. The gems are in various colors that mostly match the player colors, although there are these wild white diamonds. And then also on each one, you will put face down one of these dragon tiles. Players will also start with a player shield, as well as a set of 3 tiles, which will be one-time benefit tiles that they could use to augment their movements. So the way that the game works is that you're going to be running around from volcano to volcano with your 3 little pawns, trying to collect these gems, these eggs, and the various tiles in hopes of having the most points when the game ends. And the game's going to end when the last egg is taken from any of these volcanoes. So as soon as all the eggs are cleared off the board, the game ends immediately. And on your turn, what you're going to do is roll a dice, and it comes with this great dice tower here. And you can see I've rolled here a 4 and a 3. And what you have to do is you have to decide 2 pawns that you want to move, and you divide your dice among those pawns. So here I might use this 4 to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then immediately you'll have to collect treasure with that pawn if you're in a volcano. So if this green pawn is in a volcano, it could take all of the green gems. So this player would take these and place them behind their screen. And then they have a 3 that they could use, and they could use that to bring another pawn onto the board. So that you do that through a portal here, here, or here. So this player might choose to bring this pawn on over here, 1, 2, 3, and that would end their turn. It would just go to the next player, who would roll the dice, get a 2 and a 4, and they would perhaps go 1, 2, 3, and it's okay if you stop short. Oh, one thing I didn't do over here in these volcanoes is when you go to a volcano, you'll immediately flip the tile. 2, this one flips here. This guy, if he takes the egg, so when you take treasures from a volcano, here are your options. You could either take all of the gems in your color, so this red player would be able to take these 2 red gems. You can take, or I say red pawn, not red player, the players aren't colored. You could take just an egg. You could take a gem, a wild gem, 1 wild gem. Or if you take the egg, you also get to take this tile along with it if it's still available, and then you'll be able to spend that on a future turn. So again, you could take the egg with the tile if it's available, all the gems in your pawn's color, or one of the wild gems. And ideally, you're trying to diversify your collecting so you could have various sets at the end of the game. And at the end of the game, which like I said will happen once all the eggs are gone, you're going to basically reveal what you've collected over the course of the game. And the way that you're going to score is each gem is going to be worth a point, each egg is going to be worth a point. However, if you could form sets of gems, which a set is considered to be 1 red, 1 blue, 1 green gem, as well as 1 egg, that would be worth 10 points instead of 4 points. These could be substituted for any one of those colors. So if I only had those 4, that would be 10 points. So that's how you're going to determine the scoring. There are a couple catches. First of all, there are these discs, which I was mentioning before. the way that those work, again, some of them will allow you to travel. This is, for example, a ferryman, and you can spend any number of these discs on your turn, but that allows you to move from a volcano to a volcano along these rivers. There are these dragon tiles, which will allow you to move a pawn of that color if you use a 4. If you roll a 4 and spend that when your blue pawn is on the volcano with that dragon, it could transfer to any other volcano. So, for example, if this guy was here with the blue pawn, or with the blue dragon, and he had a 4 for movement, he could then transfer to any other volcano, and the dragon tile will go with him, and then he'd be able to collect treasures there. There are some other things, for example, most importantly is this one, which is the magic ring. And what that magic ring lets you do is when that flips up, instead of taking treasure, if you're at this volcano, you could collect one of these little rubber bands and place it upon the pawn that's at that volcano. And these just slide over like so. And these are very important because at the end of the game, any of your pawns that don't have a magic ring, so let's say at the end of the game, the cone player has these 2 with magic rings and this one without, they would get to keep their red gems, they would get to keep their green gems, but they would have to discard all of their blue gems if this guy did not have a ring. So you could make that up again with the wild gems, but you generally don't want to have to discard all of your gems of a given color. So that's another concern to be dealing with over the course of the game. There's this, which just allows you to add 3 to your movement, and there's some various other tiles. I won't go into all of them. So essentially, that's the way the game's going to play. Each turn you're going to use the dice, move 2 pawns. I should note that pawns cannot rest on the same space on the pass, but they can within the volcanoes. So you'll move the 2 pawns separately, collect treasures separately, and hopefully at the end of the game be the person with the most points once you've discarded any gems for any characters that don't have magic rings. And that's how you play Dragonland. Okay, so that's Dragonland, and this might not look like that much from the rules explanation, and I should mention that these are special dice that have 2 3s, 2 2s, a 1, and a 4 on them, so they're not normal 6-sided dice. I did not mention that during my rules review, but overall, this is a really interesting adventure game. Although it's really simple, you're just going to roll and then determine which pawns you're going to move on a turn. And of course, if you roll worse, you won't do as well. The game has a lot of interesting decisions all the same. Because you're going to be dividing your 2 movements among 3 pawns, and you're going to have to race to get to a volcano before an opponent does, especially if they're the same color as you and you're going for those gems. Since one pawn can take out all of the gems of a given color at a volcano. And the same thing goes for those bonus tiles. The same thing goes for the dragons that you could use to hop across the board. So this is a game that, even though it has a very basic mechanic at its core, it has a lot to think about over the course of your game, especially for a game that's probably aimed primarily at kids. I think that's interesting enough that for a 20 to 30 minute filler game, adults would be relatively entertained by this game. It does a lot more with rolling and moving than almost all games of its type. It's interesting how the scoring works. The need to get those magic rings is a definite priority over the course of the game, but there's also a lot of player control, both in terms of that, of risk management. If you want to stop and drop everything as soon as one of those ring discs is unveiled, you're welcome to do that, or you could just keep going to get treasures and hope that you can pick those up later. Also, there's player control in how the game ends based on the number of those eggs that are available. So players have a lot of control in a lot of different ways in this game, even though they don't have strict control over the dice unless they use those movement tokens to augment them. Overall, it's a game that really looks good, especially for its age. I think it's about 15 years old or so, and it's cute that it comes with that little dice tower. The components look fun. Overall, it's a game that I think would appeal to anybody who's a kid or anybody who likes, fantasy games, even if they are a little bit abstract. So it's a game that I'd recommend, and those are my thoughts on Dragonland. So thanks for watching.